and traditional taxi operators. And Inter-Union Health Ministry's conversion kicks off in Lusaka. These stories plus more are coming up shortly. Do stay with us.
My wife, bumper harvest. Eh?
Daddy,
I'm telling you.
your new fertilizer. Niamini.
Eh?
Iheve daddy
Tell you.
Hello. My instructions. Maya kunkabuno bwino mwamene.
I went to ETG, and now we are enjoying the benefits of using a blended D-compound fertilizer as basil and Kynoplus as top-dressing fertilizer instead of urea that we used last year. Now look here. This year, it has given me 4 tons. 4 tons. But last year, it was only 1.8 tons. Kynoplus has given all my crops the nitrogen that I paid for. It has saved me money. Telling you.
Understanding the difference between soil and crop-specific fertilizers, therein lies strength for Kynoplus blended fertilizers. More value in a bag. Available in the ETG depots countrywide, with a network providing agronomy services to farmers across the country. Kynoplus. Enhanced efficiency through innovation. A product of ETG.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Bright Sinkozi with the details. President Hakainde Hichilema today led service chiefs, diplomats accredited to Zambia, and other citizens in remembering gallant men and women who fought for the country and the African continent's freedom to mark this year's African Freedom Day commemoration. The commemoration, running under the theme Acceleration of the African Continental Free Trade Area Implementation, started at the National Freedom Statue, where the laying of wreaths took place before departure to State House for investiture ceremony today. Speaking during the laying of wreaths ceremony, Zambia Correctional Services Head of Chaplains, Reverend Sam Zulu, said there is need for Zambia to take advantage of the abundant natural resources to transform the nation, as it is only Zambians who can lead the nation to tranquility. Reverend Zulu, in his homily, said Zambians should take advantage of the peaceful atmosphere to embark on other revenue-gathering projects that will better the country. Details are in this report.
Zambia has joined the rest of the African continent to commemorate this year's 60th anniversary of the Africa Freedom Day under the theme Acceleration of Africa's Continental Free Trade Area Implementation. Scores of citizens turned up to witness the head of state, His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, as he led dignitaries, members of the diplomatic corps, and other senior government officials in laying wreaths at the Freedom Statue. Zambia Correctional Service Head of Chaplain, Reverend Sam Zulu, stressed the need for the country to take advantage of its abundant natural resources to develop.
Either Zambia must know itself to be a nation that is highly favored by God. Zambia is a blessed nation, and Zambia must be known to be a land of work, joy, and unity. Zambia is the land which is endowed with a lot of natural resources, and Zambia has potential to become the hub of trade on the African continent. We learn from this passage that Tyre managed to turn the God-given resources into great wealth and money. The people worked very hard to transform themselves into a great nation. They invested their time to ensure that the natural resources became products that were able to be put on the market and get sold to other countries. They invested in value addition. They didn't sell their raw materials as cheap raw materials, but they added value and sold them as finished product. This, Mr. President, resonates very well with the call that you have given the nation of Zambia in many of your speeches, where you have emphasized so much that Zambia is supposed to go into value addition for our products.
The Hope News crew also interacted with freedom fighters present at the function, including Transport and Logistics Minister Frank Tayali.
Very important day on the African continent in general, but more so in Zambia in particular, because I think that as Africans, we need this constant reminder that Africans must unite. And when you look at the theme for this year, which speaks to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. I think that this is what our founding fathers had always envisaged, that Africa could unite, become one, where the African peoples must be able to move freely within the continent and be able to do business, okay, amongst the nations of Africa. So
Africa Freedom Day, twali united, all the nations in Africa, Africa continent. Twakwata one theme, tuombera pamo, togetherness, working together, loving one another, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Elo monokutila, more education twakosa, more economic growth twakosa, ukusambirisha abana, the youth especially.
Niliokondwa maningi babeta kala soji fwa muno mwatu nzati na uvutika mawanani masowa tikala meti funira. Maje vuto ni mozi chabe. Tendi siya tribalism. Tendi kala ogwirizana. Anani pazo ziko ni mulungu. Nifa mozi siti osiana iya. Amanapanga tribalism ni wa Fontini nemene kambira ine.
Daniel Chilema reporting for Hope News in Lusaka.
Well, a positive call from the senior citizen who really emphasizes on the need to stay away from tribalism. Meanwhile, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema today honored some freedom fighters and gallant citizens for various contributions made towards independence of the country and others for exhibiting heroic acts in saving lives and representing the nation at various levels. Notable among the recipients of the awards were veteran journalist known especially for his Bemba documentaries, instrumental also in agriculture, Mpundu Mwape. Others were athlete Muzala Samukonga and Mr. Joseph Banda, a 46-year-old man of Kaima Radius Farms who fought with a leopard that had terrorized villagers in the area and killing it with his bare hands on the 28th of August 2022. A total of 22 were honored, as some were honored posthumously. Now, a scam has been unearthed wherein Kamwala Ward Councillor Mainda Simata is accused of working with a Chinese national who is alleged to have bought 106 shops at Kamwala Trading Center in Lusaka. We should be able to get details of that particular story a little later when we give the details. But as we continue with the bulletin, let's get into another item that has been making headlines on Hope News. Transport and Logistics Minister Frank Tayali has urged traditional as well as online taxi drivers to refrain from violence, as Zambia is a peaceful country that exists on the principle of hard work, peace and stability. Speaking in an interview with Hope News in Lusaka today, Mr. Tayali says his office has received reports of the ongoing wrangles between the two parties and has since warned traditional taxi drivers against harassing of online taxi operators. In the same vein, the minister has described as wrong the act by online drivers to operate from taxi ranks to avoid crossing paths with traditional taxi drivers. He said online taxi operators runs on the principle of an application. Therefore, it is not necessary for them to be aligned to ranks. He reiterated government's resolve to establishing a legal document that looks into issues of addressing such challenges going forward.
First of all, it is wrong for an online taxi to actually go at a taxi rank. That is not the concept of online hailing, okay? Online taxi operation must start with an app, meaning that a client must be either in their office or in their home and they must call for a taxi using an application. They must also input their destination in that application, and that the application determines the fare. So if online taxi operators are now going to taxi ranks, they have clearly misunderstood the concept of online. You can't have the best of both worlds. You are either a traditional taxi operator or you are an online taxi operator. So the only sad part is that, if the enforcement part is not doing their job, if fellow taxi drivers are the ones that have to bring up that particular discipline and sanity to prevent those that call themselves online from being at a taxi rank. You cannot be both. You are either online or you are a regular taxi operator. There is a statutory instrument which we drafted, yet to be cleared with the Ministry of Justice. I think that this is a new phenomenon that has come to our country. I'm sure we shall be able to refine it. But suffice to say that violence can never be a solution to settling of grievances. And those that are resorting to throwing stones, I think that must be warned not to take the law into their own hands. I think that is wrong. But also, like I said, the clients also that are using these online taxis must also be conscious, okay, of what sort of environment you ought to be in order for you to be able to use online taxis. To avoid these confrontations, I think that let us desist from being at a public place which also has got regular taxis. I think that there is potential for misunderstanding there.
This is Hope News, and just now let's take a break. More stories on the other side. Do stay with us.
Davis Mlaya live in concert as he graces the stage with a mission through airwaves on the 4th of June 2023 at Mulungushi International Conference Center. The star-studded lineup includes Tapelo Katapelo from South Africa. Jerusalem. Let's all stand and sing along. Singers, the Trojans, the Promise, and we are the Saxonists. Time 14 hours to 18 hours. Charges are 100 kwacha for general access, 200 kwacha for VIP, 300 kwacha for VVIP. Tickets are available at all show price stores via Compi Ticket. Get your tickets now. For more inquiries, call 0965201337 or 0971252287. See you there.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. And now for the rest of the news, let's retake a story that was earlier introduced. A scam has been unearthed wherein Kamwala Ward Councillor Mainda Simata is accused of working with a Chinese national who is alleged to have bought 106 shops at Kamwala Trading Center in Lusaka. Some traders in Kamwala have identified the Chinese business tycoon as Mr. Lars, whom they strongly believe acquired the said shops with the help of the ward councillor. The traders told Hope News that Mr. Simata had a closed-door meeting with them some time back at the Member of Parliament's office in Kabwata and were, against their wish, locked up with their mobile phones forcibly grabbed from them by the councillor. When contacted by phone, the councillor could not be reached as his phone went unanswered several times. The traders have since appealed to Republican President Hakainde Hichilema to intervene in the matter. Mebo Chitimbiti gives us details in this report.
A man of Chinese origin is alleged to have acquired over 100 shops in Kamwala area. The angry marketeers have said the Chinese man, only identified as Mr. Louis, has acquired shops near intercity area and has turned them into lodges.
Kuno isetina dandaulo kukamwala market kulubama market ameripanja pakamwala ise pano pakamwala tankalapo since 2002 nje pamene tinankala pano tenze na mantemba pano ya maplanga pamene ba health anabwa tichosapo pano chifuka cha kolera tinabwa tashita apply ku council ba council anabwa chipasa na maofa leta ni haya tankalapo pano manje ba council wachiuzati munyaule anagula ino place na title wanampasa manje banampasa riti ndaba munyaule ni mu Chinese munyaule mno Zambia na ma properties yambiri ise kudandaula kwatu kuri ba president kwa kuti batitandize tavutika pamene pano pali bana baishiwa bamene bamapezapo chakudya pano pali bana baishiwa banapezapo chakudya pano tidandaula kuri ba president batu mutendere wamene banatiraila bantu bawo si banatipase tambo vutika manje baikepo mu foreigner mu Chinese ise batipisha pa market bakamba ti mu Chinese azabwera mange pano takotera pano since 2002 ise ndiseba pano takotera pano batipoka malo ba president bamvere dandaulo yatu batitandize kuribe winango azachitandiza kuchira pali ba president bamvere kurira kwatu batitandize pa market pano batipisha bafuno pasa mu Chinese
ati anabwera na 50-50 possession so ati kwambira mwapona aya mashopo wanakamba tibazaka yasiya sochabe mwenyeli bakati mangire parodi hapa bakandomanga pa parodi ino
kana tupanyira mashopo zaenda kutoka tupanyira mashopo shangale wakawala tikale majanki tikaziba majista yati angale maule tikale wakawala
Some time back called for a meeting at the MP's office in Kabwata, where they were locked up and had their phones snatched.
Pano palubama market. Ino Lubama market tinabwera pa kudala bakanso banatipasa na maofa letters titsevenzele pano. Ndise single mothers titunga bana banshiwa pano. Ninga mchinese achoka kuti wenabopeza place pano ya free. Ela manja bakanso ise tinagwada tinapemba tifuna freedom na peace mu country yatu. Tapemba tandizo and then tandizo yatu stiona tinaita na bakansela babwela pano panatidratise zangala ku backside yanu tizakutandizani mwa bambiri pano mufutika lela bakansela batichinjira nzelu lela ba MP batichinjira nzelu ba MP wanatitenga isa kutipeleka mu office mwao ku private meeting ukabwata uko ku ward 5 ba MP Baratinyamula kutingereza mu office mwao no tipoka mafoni no koma kodono ambo tinyengerera ife ati timvele kuri Chinese ati ste compensate ati pishe pano ela batimangire mashopu pano pakati parodi pamene tiziva tise vakanza vazaka bwera tipisha pakati parodi pamene pano matraksi azambopita pati ise tizambopita pati vanakamba ati pano parodi sitingamangira pamakati mwana nizivene as a Zambian as a citizen siningamanga shop pakati parodi ela nyambosta rent kuri mchinese nilipira 1 year 2,000 per month ela 1 year costing 24,000 mchinese ati mangira ola tizi mangira teka ela yasininga vomele pakati parodi because nikalangana street inazula kudala vanipisha pamene nankala nafika ine ninafika ne Zambia ne citizen vanipisha pa place ya mene nilili vapoleka pa mchinese nienda kuti pa president tilila tigwada pameza pano titendizen koni tina ukazira wanu ise pamulaini kulilea peace kulilea freedom yatu ili kuti tililea freedom na peace njela tifuna president timbalengo nchifunda tilangaleni koni titunga wana wanshiwa ndise single mothers titunga wazimai watu watate wanasia wana wanshiwa ndifatili responsibility pavonse tizaenda kuti tilangaleni koni wa president apapata isa wana wanu.
Mebo Chitimbiti, Hope News in Lusaka.
Hope Channel Zambia will follow the story to get the logical conclusion of the matter. Now let's turn our attention to other items as the country commemorated the African Freedom Day. Over 40 pupils at Choma Secondary have pledged to pursue careers in journalism and public relations. Southern Water and Sewerage Company Corporate Affairs Manager Liversage Mulinda says the journalism career should be considered by pupils as every aspect of development in the country cannot be talked about in the absence of a thriving and vibrant media. Mr. Mulinda noted that a team of media specialists and public relations practitioners were at Choma Secondary School to encourage pupils to take the journalism and public relations professions seriously. He said the two professions, once taken on by the pupils who have already shown interest in their career path, will contribute to economic development of this country. And school authorities at Choma Secondary said they invited professionals to speak to learners in a bid to inspire them to consider taking journalism and public relations as careers.
It was on June 27, 1973, at Choma Secondary School where the Choma Declaration was signed to build more harmony, unity, peace, development and stability in Zambia. Mr. Nkumbula, whose party, the African National Congress, ANC, agreed to work together with Dr. Kaunda's United National Independence Party, UNIP. After that, Mr. Nkumbula then proposed that since Choma was the political center of ANC, they should, after the whole agreement was reached, go and sign the Choma Declaration in Choma. As the country is commemorating the African Freedom Day, these pupils at Choma Secondary School have opted to become scribes and public relations practitioners. Riversage Melinda is Southern Water and Sewerage Company Corporate Affairs Manager.
Every other aspect of development in the country will not be spoken about in the absence of a thriving and vibrant media. So we took interest to interact with the students, to encourage them to take journalism as one of their career choices as they leave school.
Catherine Maria had this to say.
Myself, I work on the news desk. The news desk for Zambia Daily Mail, that is the main desk of the newspaper. That is where we do politics. That is where we do crime incidences, murders.
Yvonne Siandula is a grade 12 pupil with the desire to become a media practitioner.
How the mass communication is helping us. We have a clear picture on how we can interact with you people.
George Kanyama is head of department languages.
When we get professionals to come and speak to them, inspire them about various career pathways, especially journalism.
Reporting, Lawrence Kabutu in Choma, Southern Province.
The first ever inter-union health ministries conversion for Southern and Northern Zambia Union conferences has kicked off in Lusaka and is expected to run up to Saturday, 27th of May 2023. In an interview with Hope News, Southern Zambia Union Conference Health Director Dr. Muntanga Mapani said the convention has been called to provide a learning platform where healthcare workers can meet and share with each other on the best practices that can see the growth of the health sector in the church. Ms. Mapani says one of the pressing issues that has so far stood out in the deliberations is the need for the church to take up insurance critically. She said it is important that members are insured to ease the process of getting financial aid from the church in case of unseen circumstances. Dr. Mapani says it is her wish that going forward, insurance is made mandatory whenever singers, youths and other church members are traveling.
Okay, so we have convened a health ministries convention at a government complex in Lusaka, and we are calling it an inter-union because our sister conference from the Northern Zambia Union Conference has come to join us. So in other words, we've called all the healthcare workers countrywide, and we have convened at government complex. And we've come for this convention where we come together, we want to learn from one another, we want to encourage one another. The majority of people who have gathered are healthcare workers. We work in government departments as well as in health facilities that are run by the church. So we have come together to convocate, to learn from one another, to inspire one another. So insurance is very important. This is actually one way that we are using to educate our church members. You will remember that in the very recent past, we've had very bad accidents in the church. Some youths drowned, in 2 places, in Siavonga as well as in Wapula. We've had road traffic accidents involving church members. And it is very important to have, people insured when they are traveling for church work, because then, during such unfortunate events, the church can come in and give some financial support to the families. So I think it's a big lesson for all of us to learn. We must make sure that whenever people travel, they must be insured. So it's just one way that we are using to educate one another. Because anyway, everyone having come to government complex, they have traveled a distance. Are they insured? What if something happened? What can the church do to help them? So that's what we are saying.
And finally, on the news, Northern Zambia Union Conference Publishing Director, Pastor Ephraim Mutoya, says it is important for literature evangelists to take time away from fieldwork and meet together to learn from Jesus. He said the LEs should value meeting together and learn new techniques in which they can spread the gospel through literature ministry. Pastor Mutoya says the world has advanced in technology, and it is imperative for LEs to be up to date with digital technologies because it has become effective, rather it can be an effective means of distributing literature. He was speaking when he addressed Midlands West Zambia Conference literature evangelists at a seminar running under the theme, The Splendid Literature Evangelist, at Villa Seventh-day Adventist Church in Lusaka.
A great time that we had with literature evangelists, and this is something that we love to do, to spend some time as literature evangelists, to go aside and just sit at the feet of Jesus. The reason being that much of the time we are out in the field. So we take time to just be at the feet of Jesus, to worship the Lord and get instructions from Him. And that's exactly what we were doing with our leaders from Midlands West Zambia Conference, led by Pastor Med Chali and also the 2 assistant publishing directors. Interesting enough, we had also new literature evangelists, and we're excited that indeed in Lusaka we are getting new literature evangelists joining the team, the army of God that are out there as ministers of the printed page.
I didn't know that I would really enjoy the workshop like this when I was coming, but the knowledge I've gained has really helped me, and I'm sure being the publishing leader for Apollo SDA Church, it will help me then do my work accordingly.
That item brings us to the end of the news. Before we go, let's recap on stories that made headlines. President Hichilema remembers freedom fighters to mark this year's African Freedom Day celebrations. Kamwala Ward Councillor accused of working with a Chinese national who bought 106 shops at Kamwala's Lubama trading area. Transport Minister calls for unity between online and traditional taxi drivers. Inter-Union Health Ministries conversion kicks off in Lusaka. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Bright Sinkozi on behalf of the entire studio and production team, not forgetting our correspondents across the country. Do have yourselves a lovely time as you keep watching Hope Channel Zambia television that changes lives. For now, God bless and bye.